Good evening, everybody. I'm Alan Iden, and joining me here in the studio is Sandy Rogers. Thank you for taking a break out from watching your national election coverage. We're going to give you an idea of what has happened here in Winchester tonight on election night 1996. Just a brief summary of what we're going to be covering here. We're going to be giving you, of course, the results from question 2, which is the override here in Winchester, question 3, which is the proposition to add 2 additional liquor licenses in town, and we'll also be giving you a flavor of how Winchester's voted in the other elections, the national election, of course, for President, Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, the very tight U.S. Senate race between John Kerry and Governor William Weld, and, of course, the Middlesex County Sheriff's race featuring Winchester's own Brad Bailey and his opponent, DePaula? What's his name?
That's all right. It's pretty close.
That's close. Okay.
His opponent. I think we'll lead off with the questions, however, because obviously the override question is going to be the most important to people right here in Winchester.
Okay, let's take a look at Precinct 1. We're going to bring up Precinct 1's totals right here on question 1. Question 2, rather, the override question.
On question 2, Precinct 1.
Okay, let's take a look at the monitor here.
The results are going to be 555 for yes and 857 no. On Precinct 2, in Precinct 2 we have, okay, it's coming apparently.
Where are we? All right, give us a moment here. We're going to bring up Precinct 2 here.
Precinct 2 is going to be yes is 390 and no is 713. While we're waiting for the next graph to come up, I could probably do question 3, which is the liquor license.
No, let's go to, it's very interesting, Precinct 2. It's an awful big spread. Are you surprised at
Very
that?
surprised. That was the one I reported on
You're
before.
looking at almost, well, getting close to a 2-for-1 spread.
Right.
Anyway, let's take a look at 3. What's happened now? We've reversed.
We've got a yes vote of 728 and a no vote of 683.
And let's take a look
Precinct
at 4.
4. Precinct 4, we have a very wide variation with a very strong yes. 902 voted yes, and the no vote is 641.
Interesting, about a 300 vote margin.
With Precinct 5, we have a yes vote of 604 and a no vote of 895. And Precinct 6 is going to be a yes vote of 562 and a no vote of 973. Now, we do not have the results yet from Precinct 7 or 8. Apparently, there's been some kind of modem problem. We probably won't have the results until we come back with our next 15-minute deal.
We might want to explain the modem problem in case you're unaware of it. Of course, if you voted today, and in the last elections, you're aware that Winchester has gone away from the voting machines and to a computerized voting system where, as your ballot is taken to the machine, that machine electronically records all the votes, and then all of those results are transmitted by computer modem to the town hall for tabulation. So just so some people may not be clear on exactly why
now we're having modem problems?
Why we have a modem problem, where we used to have voting machines where we take those huge sheets of paper off the back, sit down, add them all up, bring them down to the town hall, and get them tabulated. Now, my understanding is that in Precinct 7 and 8, which is Lynch School,
right,
that the police are going to go over there and, I guess,
they will pick up the results, and then they will have to hand carry them over. And so we will come back and be able to give you the full results in our second segment of election results. But for the moment, with Precinct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in on question 2, which is the override, the totals are going to be yes, 3,741, and no, 4,762.
Now, any feeling on how there might be a vote in Precinct 7 and 8?
I wouldn't dare say, because the interesting thing is when you look back at this historically, and we can talk historically in a little bit, I think we'll do some of the other races first, But in any case, historically, 7 has, in many cases, voted in favor of overrides. We've had 4 overrides prior to this one. This is the 5th override opportunity, if you will, in the history of Winchester. So in any case, Precinct 7 occasionally comes through in favor, and of course Precinct 8 is not. So again, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a swing.
You're looking at a 1,000 vote margin,
yes,
a 1,000 vote margin to overcome. So in the last 2 precincts,
you realize that some of these precincts, you're getting, you know, 900 votes, for example, just on yes in Precinct 4. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my point here is, though, that it has to win by at least 1,000 votes
That's
in those
correct.
2 precincts
No, that's
to win.
correct.
So it looks at this point as though question number 2 is going to go down to defeat once again for the 5th time.
For the 5th time,
in
but
Winchester.
certainly not by the same margin.
No.
But
no,
that's only
true.
hazarding a guess. We still should wait for 7 and 8 to come in.
Okay. Do you want to move on
So
to question 3,
yeah,
which
why
is
don't
our
we just
question
quickly
for
go
additional
through,
liquor licenses?
because we don't have the setup, so I can just do it verbally very quickly. Question 3, of course, is the liquor license. In Precinct 1, the vote yes was 844, the vote no was 551. In Precinct 2, the vote yes was 685, the vote no was 412. In Precinct 3, the vote yes was 1,014, the vote no was 389. In Precinct 4, it was yes 995 and no 528. In Precinct 5, it was 989 yes and no was 497. In Precinct 6, the vote yes was 975 and the vote no was 541. And again, realizing that we are still without 7 and 8, in this particular decision, I can give you the totals for these 6 precincts, and that's going to be yes 5,502 and no 2,918. So I would say, at least with the question 3,
question 3 is obviously
it looks
passed
like we've got it.
at this point. Some other figures of interest to our viewers might be in the very tight race for U.S. Senate, not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen statewide, but certainly interesting as what's happened here in town. In the race between John Kerry and Governor William Weld, Precinct 1 was 722 for Kerry, 709 for Weld. Precinct 2, 615 for Kerry, 503 for Weld. Precinct 3, 772 Kerry, 663 Weld. Precinct 4, 735 for Kerry, 820 for Weld. Precinct 5, 606 for Kerry, 906 for Weld. And Precinct 6, a huge margin, 553 for Kerry and 1,008 for Weld. So with those 6 precincts reporting in, again waiting for 7 and 8, we have Kerry of 4,003 votes versus Weld's 4,609. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if that means anything statewide, but it is kind of interesting to see. It's fun to see what's happening here in town. The other race that we're watching is the Middlesex County Sheriff. Winchester's own Brad Bailey.
Hotly contested.
Yep, hotly contested. Brad Bailey looking to get re-elected. Well, no, not re-elected, elected. He was appointed to the sheriff's position, and he's looking to win election to that post. In Precinct 1, we saw he actually was defeated. James DePaula defeated him by 504 to 483. That was the only precinct that happened in. Precinct 2, he won by 632 to 136. In Precinct 3 by 864 to 470. In Precinct 4 by 1,000 to 9 to 478, better than 2 to 1. Again in Precinct 5, 1,017 to 401. And in Precinct 6, 1,016 to 423. I haven't added these figures up, but he obviously has a huge lead here in town.
Certainly is the favorite here in Winchester.
Again, he's got the entire county that he's got to win in, not just Winchester. But and I think it would be disastrous for him if he didn't win in his hometown.
That's correct.
Interesting, though, to see what's. We haven't got any figures on the presidential race. Actually, we do. I'm not sure if I can translate them. Here, it may indicate what is happening here in town. I haven't got any totals. In Precinct 1, President Clinton is 836 to Bob Dole's 496. If I can sort my papers out here, where did Precinct 2 go? Precinct 2 is 711 for Clinton and 348 for Dole. God, thank you for getting these things in order here. And Precinct 3, 874 for Clinton, 495 for Dole. Precinct 4 is on the back of the sheet of paper there. Clinton 880 versus Dole's 590. I found Precinct 5 on my own here. Clinton 704, Dole 738. And Precinct 6, where are we? Clinton 690, so 5 and 6, interesting, went for Dole.
Yes, I know. It is very interesting, actually. It is kind of fun to see.
So now we have to figure out what's going to happen in 7 and 8, but did you think the override question?
I thought it might be fun to talk, a little bit, with some of our time at least, about what's happened in the past with override questions. We have had, as I said before, 4 overrides prior to this one. The only one that was done with what we call national election as opposed to town election was the very first one in 1988. At that point in time, we were doing a debt exclusion override. We had a voter turnout of 89%, and it was for the public library. We were trying to raise some additional monies for the repair of the public library, and the vote became kind of the historic landmark, if you will, or it never changed radically in terms of what the count would end up being for totals. Basically, it was a 2-to-1, knock it out. No way, shape, or form was this town going to go for debt exclusion. Interesting, though, Precinct 3 and Precinct 7, out of all the precincts, did vote in favor, but the total was so overwhelmingly defeating it that, of course, the first one never got off the ground, and subsequent ones lost by about the same margin. The second one was a debt exclusion again. It was done during a town election. This was the public safety building and the town hall. Precinct 3, still hanging in there, still voting for it, but it obviously went down again to a 2-to-1, basically, on a town-wide tally. The third override opportunity for the town was in 1990. It was a debt exclusion. We were going, one a year at that point, 1988, 89. This is 1990. It was done during a town election, and this one was kind of a potpourri of about 4 different items. We had the public safety, we had the transfer station, we had municipal computer system, et cetera, and also some furnishings for town hall. And that lost again by a margin of, I would say, 2-to-1, and again, Precinct 3 was hanging in there. And the last one, of course, was the big, we call it the 7 items, and you could pick whatever you liked, 2-to-1.
All right.
No way.
What did Precinct 3 do there?
Precinct 3 hung in there for every single thing except rent for the Council on Aging.
Well, Precinct 3 has, true to form, tonight,
that's right,
gone for a narrow margin in favor of it, 728 to 683, and I believe, is that the only precinct that
no,
voted in favor?
Precinct 7 would, occasionally show up, and
Which
this is
we're
why
waiting for.
we're waiting
Again,
for
we
it.
do not have Precinct 7 and 8, and we will be back. We're going to come back
At 9:45.
At 9:45, and hopefully we'll have all of those results at that point. We hope. We hope. And if we don't, I think we'll probably put them up on a crawl for people to look at tonight. If we do have results from 7 and 8, we will be back in 30 minutes at 9:45 with those results. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen.
Yes, well, we'll see.
Hopefully it will.
We are prepared to do so.
We are here, we are prepared, and we should remind you that you are watching award-winning coverage. This station recently won an award for its election coverage in Decision 95 last spring, and we're real proud of that. And as we wrap up our show tonight, we're going to let you take a look at that award, National Award.
Yes.
So we want to thank you for joining us here. You can go back to your regular viewing if you'd like.
And we'll see you at 9:45.
I'm Alan Iden, and joined here with Sandy Rogers. Thank you for tuning in. Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Alan Iden. Joining me here is Sandy Rogers here at the TV 19 studios with your local election coverage. We want to thank you for taking a break from the national elections and state elections. We're going to give you a brief snapshot of what has happened here in Winchester tonight. Of course, the most important question to town residents is question 2 for an override of Proposition 2.5. Also on the ballot here locally is question 3 for 2 additional liquor licenses. We'll also give you some of the figures in the presidential race, the U.S. Senate race, and the Middlesex County Sheriff's race here in town. Now, we should say right off that if you tuned in earlier, we were waiting for the results from precincts 7 and 8 from Lynch School, and Sandy informed you at that time it was a modem problem, and I also explained what a modem problem was. In case you don't know, the election results now, if you went to the polls today, you filled out a paper ballot. Those ballots are counted by a computer, and the computer results are transmitted to Town Hall. Well, apparently there's been a problem in precincts 7 and 8. The latest word we heard is they're going to have to hand feed all the ballots back into the computer, and it's obvious that that is not going to be done by the time we're through tonight. The good news is, as you will see when Sandy gets in the results, that the results from those precincts are pretty clear. So, right. Sandy, why don't you bring us through precinct by precinct 1 through 6.
Okay.
This is question, once again, this is question 2
which
for the
is
Proposition
the override.
2.5 override.
And obviously the big question for this town tonight, and obviously a very much discussed question, I would say, over the last couple of days, and the subject of many hearings, etc. So, precinct 1, yes, the results are 555 in favor and 857 people saying no. Precinct 2, we have 390 saying yes and 713 saying no. And the graphic is coming up, but it's basically the same kind of difference, if you will, that we've had in the past with precinct 2. You'll notice that in most precincts you'll have a yes vote and then almost a double saying no to this question. But there are a few precincts that are different, and historically one is coming up that has favored all of the overrides here in town. This is precinct 3. And each time we've had an override question on the ballot, precinct 3 has always come out in favor, and this was no different. The yes in precinct 3 was 728, and the no was 683. And as I say, the next precinct is one that would show up occasionally being in favor in the past for override questions. And once again, actually, this is a very strong difference in precinct 4. We have 902 people in favor of the override and 641 who were not in favor. But again, that's a very large margin, larger than usual for precinct 4. And precinct 5, coming up to precinct 5, we're now up at Vincent Owen. And the voters at Vincent Owen for precinct 5 said yes, 604 of them, and no, 895. And that's pretty traditional for that area. Precinct 6 was pretty traditional as well in terms of historical vote on an override. Yes, it's going to be 562, and no is 973. With these 6 precincts in at this point, and of course without 7 and 8, we have a total yes vote of 3,741, and the no vote is going to be 4,762. So I would say that with about 1,000 vote difference, precinct 7 in the past has usually been in favor of overrides. Precinct 8 not. So I would say there's going to be maybe a slight increase in terms of less difference, if you will. I'm saying kind of funny, but there'll be the 2 races will come. The the yes and no will come closer to each other, but I think the no has got it.
Difference with the 6 precincts there, and
I know. I was trying to figure out how it would wash out.
It sounds like precincts 7 and 8 would probably just about balance each other out. Maybe a little bit stronger on the yes side.
Yes, that's what I would predict.
But obviously, at this point, even with just the 6 precincts in, that it's a virtual impossibility that the yes votes could overcome 1,000
But
vote
I
margin.
certainly would say that in terms of overrides, this certainly has been the time of the closest override, because in the past, it literally, starting in 88, 89, 90, 91, it was basically always about 2 to 1. 2 to 1, no, no, no. This town would not do an override.
And as you said earlier, this is the 5th time that the town has gone for, has put an override question to the voters.
Certainly a lot more work involved in this. I mean, I don't remember any override garnering the amount of interest and paperwork and letters and everything else.
Sandy, other question, of course, is local question 3 to add 2 additional liquor licenses or authorize the selectmen to issue 2 additional full restaurant liquor licenses should there be applicants here in the town.
I can run down these figures because we don't have a graphic for you, and I'll simply do it verbally. Precinct 1, the yes is 844. The no is 551. In Precinct 2, we had a yes vote of 685 and a no vote of 412. In Precinct 3, we had 1,014 people saying yes and 389 saying no. In Precinct 4, we had 995 people saying yes and 528 saying no. In Precinct 5, it sounds almost the same, 989 saying yes, and no is 497. In Precinct 6, it's 975 saying yes and 541 saying no, and I'd say, here's to the liquor licenses.
Cheers. You've got the totals there.
The totals are going to be, without 7 and 8, 5,502 saying yes, and the no vote is 2,918.
We want to remind you that the results we are giving you are unofficial.
Right.
They are from the town clerk's office, and once again, they do not include precincts 7 and 8. I'm going to recap a couple of other races of interest here in town. Again, none of these are going to be decided by the vote in Winchester, but it is kind of interesting to see how Winchester has voted. In the presidential election, Precinct 1, going in order of Clinton, Gore, Dole, Kemp, and Perot, Choate, we have 836, 496, and 102. Precinct 2, 711, 348, and 77. Precinct 3, 874 for President Clinton and Vice President Gore, 495 for Dole and Kemp, and 70 for Perot and Choate. Precinct 4, 880, 590, and 99. Precinct 5, 704, and 738 for Dole. Interesting that Bob Dole won by a narrow margin, Precinct 5, 92 for Perot. And also again in Precinct 6, a Dole victory, 694 to 764, 108 votes for Perot. Overall, from the 6 precincts that we have reported here, the totals are 4,699, President Clinton, Bob Dole, 3,431, and 548 for Ross Perot. In the very hotly contested Senate race, we've been a little out of touch, so we're not really aware of what's been going on statewide, but we can tell you what's going on in the town. Precinct 1 was 722 for Kerry, 709 for Weld. Precinct 2, 615 to 503. Precinct 3, 772 for Kerry, 663 for Weld. Precinct 4, 735 for Kerry, 820 for Weld. Precinct 5 and 6 both going strongly for Weld, 5 going 606 to 906, and 6 going 553 to 1,008 for Governor Weld. And again, with the 6 of the 8 precincts reporting, we have 4,003 for Kerry and 4,609 for Weld.
It's still pretty close.
Still pretty close.
Knowing that that's just 6
Winchester's a pretty Republican town, I think, so it's probably not surprising to see that. Pardon
Now
me?
that we're talking historically, yes,
Right.
I would say historically.
Right. And the other race that, of course, we're watching, not to be decided in Winchester, but the results are fairly predictable, is Brad Bailey's attempt to run for election. He is the Middlesex County Sheriff at this point, appointed to the position some 1 year ago.
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Time flies.
I think.
anyway, he's looking to get elected to that position. He's running against James DePaula. And here in town, the precinct-by-precinct results are 843 for Bailey, 504 for DePaula in Precinct 1, 632 to 436, 864 to 470, 1,009 to 478 in Precinct 4, Precinct 5, 1,017 to 401, Precinct 6, 1,016 to 423. And probably giving him a predictable about 2-to-1 victory here in his hometown, 5,381 to 2,712. That's the Middlesex County Sheriff's race. You have some, if you just quickly give us some background on override questions. Again, it appears that Winchester's 5th override question has gone down to defeat. And just quickly, can you recap when we've had...
Well, the interesting thing is that the first override was in 1988, and that was for the Winchester Public Library, and it failed 2-to-1. Precinct 3 was hanging in there. Obviously, the town-wide vote knocks out, you know, any support that it gets, but Precinct 3, you'll find, notoriously votes for the overrides. In the second election, it was 89. We really went 88, 89, 90, 91, and then we stopped having overrides until now. But in any case, that election was for the Public Safety Building and Town Hall, 2-to-1 down. The next one was for a whole smattering of things, public safety and municipal computer systems, down, 2-to-1. The last one was for a general override. We had several questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, down, 2-to-1, every one.
They've all been defeated.
So,
but as you say, this one is the closest.
It's closest.
All right, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to remind you are watching award-winning coverage. We are very proud of the award we received here at TV19 for our Election 95 coverage. We won a national award for local news coverage.
It was Hometown Video.
Hometown Video Award. And it was again a national award. We're real proud of that. We're going to show you at the end of this program, just about a minute here, less than a minute, we're going to show you that award. So thank you for tuning in to your award-winning TV19 coverage. We want to thank you for joining us tonight, and you can tune back to your major network coverage. For TV19, I'm Alan Iden.
Sandy Rogers.
Thanks for joining us.